Hello, it's Jerome Braggs, medical intuitive channel artist and author of the book Only Feed Me Life. And I haven't done a video in a while. I've been having a whole bunch go on, but I'm back making videos. And as I was preparing to make this video, I realized I've talked about like how I met my guides. There's many videos out there about my near-death experience and several videos about my healing journey and what I learned about how to heal ourselves through the practice of self-love. But I have not really done a video talking about how I became a medical intuitive. And so I wanted to do a video talking about the journey that led me into the gifts that I have today as a medical intuitive, and the work I do with people, helping them and teaching them how to heal themselves using my medical intuitive abilities. So I want to just do a little story time about how this happened. So after I had my second near-death experience in 2005, this is the near-death experience where I crossed over to the other side in the hospital and was told by source that the key to healing my body and really creating a life that I loved, a really delicious life, was to come back home to my soul through the practice of self-love. And um, a few months after this, so in that near-death experience, I was given, and when I was in the hospital before I had the near-death experience and died and crossed over to the other side, I was given 48 hours to live. Uh, but I survived, right? And this was a few months after I had gotten out of the hospital. So I was on dialysis and was back in my apartment. And my parents were coming back and forth from Oklahoma to DC, where I was living at the time, to visit me and try to help me out. And I was attending the spiritual center at that time. Again, I was trying to process what had just happened to me in the near death experience, but more importantly, I was trying to fully heal my body. I was trying everything I could to try to heal my body. And so I was attending the spiritual center, and at the spiritual center, they began to offer energy healing classes for people that were interested in becoming energy healers. And that kind of sparked this kind of light bulb for me because during my first near-death experience in 2004, one of the things that happened to me was somebody suggested I see an energy healer, and I had an energy healer come to my apartment at that time and work with me. And that was my first experience with energy healing. I had never heard of it before. I never experienced it before. But it was a very positive experience. I was very fascinated by the fact that this person could see certain things in my body. I felt very uplifted and just really affected and impacted by the energy work that they were doing with me. And so I became very interested in what energy healing was. So this spiritual center was offering this opportunity to become an energy healer. And so I was fascinated by this. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I need to do this. I just felt this pull to do this. Like this would help me heal myself. And this would be a very interesting thing to do. So I began to take this class. And one of the things that the instructor would have us do was, do a meditation and then to tune into our own energy and then to raise our vibration and to tune our vibration up so that we could tune into the energy of the person that we would be working with. And we were to put our hands on them once we had attuned our energy and done the meditation. When we come out of the meditation, you would take a deep breath in, and then she would have us put our hands on them. And I noticed something in the very first class, that I did this, when I put my hands on the person, immediately I started to get messages like downloads coming in from their body, and their body was speaking to me. And it would speak about what was going on with them, not necessarily like it would give me it would give me some physical symptoms, but it wouldn't give me like the medical term diagnosis, but it would give me something like um the right side of my body is aching a lot and I can't really move it well, Or it would say something like, my gut hurts and I'm not able to digest food well, or my immune system is really low, or there seems to be some type of foreign mass in my lungs, or something like that, right? And so it wouldn't say I have cancer, or I have diabetes, or I have it. It would not give me the medical diagnosis, but it would give me the physical symptoms that I was experiencing and where it was. And then it would say, "This is coming from this," and it would literally say, like, "Here's where the root of this is. Like, this is what the root of it is." It would say, "This person has been in a relationship. I'm in a relationship that makes me feel restricted and in bondage. I'm in a relationship that makes me feel ashamed and I don't feel like myself anymore. I'm doing work that I don't love. I have been in a long spiral of shaming myself. I really have resentment with my mother over something that happened 10 years ago." And it would just say little things like that. And it happened the moment I would put my hands on the person. And I was like, whoa, right? Whoa, what is this? And I was noticing nobody else in the class was having the same experience, right? And so what we would do was we were to pass the energy through the person and to kind of just let the energy, the source energy flow through us into the person. And if we noticed anything at the end of that session in our practice sessions, to tell the person we were working with, like, what we noticed. And again, I noticed that I had so much to say. I was like, the left side of your body is saying this, your throat is saying this about this. There seems to be this mass here, and this is what this mass is saying, and this is what the root cause of it is, and this is what it's asking of you to do to resolve it. And nobody else in the class, and there was like, maybe 10 other people that were taking this class with me. Nobody else in the class was having the same experience. And I was like, whoa, what is this? Like, what is happening for me? And at first, I just thought this was a fluke until I told the person, right? I said, okay, I have no idea if this is going to resonate. Because again, this isn't just, it comes clearly, but this is something that was very new for me. So I didn't know if this was like, for lack of better words, it was going to be bullshit or not, right? But I kind of just rarely and scarily would tell the person I was working with, Here's what your body is saying. Here's what I heard something from your body. Are you open to me telling you what I heard?" And when they said yes, and I would tell them, they were like, "How did you know that? There's no way you could have known that because I haven't told anybody about this yet." Or they would say something like, "That's exactly what's going on. And yes, I have been having this experience." And I had this awareness that I had an ability that opened for me because I guess it had come from my near death experience. There was an ability to be able to talk to people's bodies and hear them, right? And hear what was actually going on and literally see it and feel it. And the more I began to do that in the class, it just got stronger and stronger. And when I finished the class, like, I got my certification I was a certified energy healer. But I knew that my gift was different. This was just a little beyond just regular energy healing. And I worked as an energy healer. I did work as an energy healer for a while after that, and I did some more training in it. Um, but again, Mike's, and the more I trained, the more this experience just opened up where I could literally hear the body. It would speak to me. And then another aspect began to happen where I could hear the body and I could sense what was going on. And again, it wasn't just the physical aspects, like this is happening on the right side of the body, but it was a spiritual aspect as well. And the spiritual aspect was the loudest thing. And what I mean by spiritual, like, it wasn't just this physical condition that was happening. It was a spiritual condition that was happening. You weren't happy in your life. You weren't living a life that you loved. You didn't feel worthy. You had a lot of shame. You felt very disempowered and resentful in your life. You weren't having this vibration. And when I moved from DC and moved back home to Oklahoma, I began to train again under this team that was called the Wellness Team. And there was this group of energy healers that trained together, and then they would also do sessions together. So you wouldn't just have one energy healer working with you. You would usually have 2 to 3 energy healers working with you at one time under this particular team. And when I began to train, the part that began to open even further in my abilities was my ability to connect in with the soul of a person. And not only was the body talking and was it giving me the spiritual condition behind like you have, and what I mean by spiritual condition, there was something that was going on that made the person disconnected from their spirit, made them disconnected from the energy, the frequency of their spirit, and the consciousness of their spirit, like how their spirit thought and how it perceived, particularly how it perceived them and how it perceived their life. And when I began to train with this wellness team in Oklahoma, what began to happen for me was I began to literally, when I would, do my meditation and connect in with the person, their body would speak. And then all of a sudden, I would feel their soul. I would feel it. I would feel their, the soul, the higher self. You can call it the inner self. Um, but I could feel it, and it was a huge education for me, a re-education for me again about what the soul actually feels like. When I had my near-death experience, I became the fullness of my soul on the other side, and so I felt what that is. And I've done many videos where I talked about it. It was this immense feeling of well-being and love. And I go in other videos, I go in many details about all the different details of what that actually is. But when I began to train with the wellness team in Oklahoma, I began to tune into people's soul, and I had this feeling again, and I was like, "Oh, this is the soul of everyone. This is how it feels. This is the frequency of the soul, and this is the consciousness of the soul. No matter who they were, no matter what illness they were experiencing, no matter what age they were, no matter what race they were or sexuality they were, their higher self felt the same. It was this very high frequency. Yes, it was like they had this personality, this individualized personality, but their higher self felt this same type of energy, and I was able to tell exactly, like, I got more and more clear in where in their body they were disconnected from that. Where, like, there were places in the body that would kind of show up, almost like somebody was shining a flashlight on it, on where in their body they weren't embodying the frequency of their soul. And their body would tell me what was happening, why this was, like what in their lifestyle, what in their way of thinking, what in the choices they're making for themselves has caused them to no longer be fully connected and embodied with their soul, and why that was making them sick. And again, nobody else in the wellness team was having like this kind of depth with it. There were some amazing energy healers that could do amazing things, just literally phenomenal things. And I'll have to do another video later where I talk about some of the things that I've seen. But nobody was having this particular experience. And because of this, because I was getting so detailed, and I would share with the people that I was working with, I was here with three other energy healers. They would say, "Hey, I'm seeing this chakra's blocked," or "Hey, I'm seeing, this heaviness over here." But I was saying, "Hey, your body's saying this relationship which you have with your mother is making you sick because you do not feel like you're being your full self in that relationship, and it's shrunken you down, and you've manifested this illness that makes you feel restricted." And I was having these like detailed things about that. And the people were like, "Whoa, that is exactly what's happening. That is exactly how I've been feeling. That's exactly what's been going on in my life." And so I became pretty popular in that. And in that team, like people would come and they would ask for me, to work with me, no matter who else they were booked for. Like, is Jerome available? Can Jerome come? And it was around this time that I had never heard about the term medical intuitive. I didn't know what that was. And I began to, at first it's funny because I began to call myself this medical medium, because I was a medium. Like that's one of my gifts that opened for me, my psychic gifts that opened for me. And I was helping people with their medical conditions, by what I was able to tell. So I was like, at first I was like, well, I think I'm like a medium and a medical medium. And I did not know that that was actually somebody's actual title. And I was calling myself that for a while, and I got this cease and desist letter because I had never heard of any of this, by the way. And so I was just coming in what was naturally coming through me. And then I got a cease and desist letter because there is actually a real live person who is, I guess, a medical intuitive and calls himself the medical medium and had branded that. And I did not know that. And so I got the cease and desist letter. And it was when I got the cease and desist letter that I began to research because I was like, well, that feels like the truest thing to me. That feels like what actually expresses my gifts and details my gifts the most. And so I'm trying to find some other way to tell people what I do. And I began to research and I came across the term medical intuitive. And I was like, oh, wow. Like medical intuitives are people who have an intuitive ability to determine what type of illness people are going through, and some of them to the point of they can tell you what the actual medical diagnosis is, and can help people, in their healing journey from it based upon what they're able to see and work with. And I was like, oh, this is me. But there was a difference, right? Where most medical intuitives, by the definition, can actually tell you, here's the diagnosis, here's the illness that I see. But mine was different because, again, like I said in the beginning, I wasn't seeing, here's the diagnosis, but I could see, like, here are the physical symptoms that are happening, right? Here's how this particular symptom is happening. But to me, the thing that was very, very, very clear, more than the medical condition, was the spiritual condition that was at the root of why the medical condition had manifested. And that was where I knew that my gift was different than any other medical intuitive that I had seen. I began to do research, Carolyn Myss, Till Swan. I began to do many different research about other medical intuitives out there and how they worked. And I was like, oh yeah, like here are the similarities that I have with them, but here is my unique ability. Like I can see the spiritual condition. I can see the consciousness and I can see the vibration and I could see some of the behaviors and lifestyle that you have been living that have caused you to create this vibration in you that has manifested this illness. And what you need to do to begin to shift your consciousness, shift your choices and your lifestyle so that you hold a vibration that is more in alignment with your soul, meaning that brings more of the frequency of your soul back into your body. So it's not disconnected anymore, and it brings it back into the body so that that frequency can be emitted in your body and cause you to heal. Because that's actually the root of wellness. This is what I learned in my own near-death experience and my healing journey, that the actual root that causes the body to manifest and sustain wellness and health is the embodiment of your soul. You can call it alignment, some people call it resonance, some people call it harmony. When you are fully in harmony and you are fully with your higher self and you are embodying the frequency of your higher self because you are in harmony with that, that frequency causes the body to heal and it causes the body to manifest wellness. But you have to address where you're out of harmony, right? So for example, what I was saying before, the people that were had resentment for their mother for something that happened, they had to resolve how they thought about that. They had to make choices differently, so where they no longer had this resentment in them, instead they felt at peace and ease. The people that were in relationships, right, it wasn't just as easy. Sometimes it was as easy as like, I need to leave this relationship, but it was also, I need to make choices that I'm no longer with. I no longer engage with people who make me feel like I need to suppress parts of myself. And I need to make a decision within me that I will only ever be myself in all the spaces that I exist in. I will speak up for myself. I will say what I want to say, and I will do what I really want to do. And so it was all these like spiritual things that I was learning how to teach people about how to bring their spirit back into their bodies and really seeing like, oh, here's where it's not really fully landed in the body, and here's why it's not fully landing in the body, and here's how to bring it back. And that is where my gift really, really began. And over the years, I began to hone it, where it's gotten stronger and stronger and better and better. In the beginning years, it was, I could see where it, there were still places where it was to be improved. And there's again, our gifts are you never just get it to a point where it's always like this. There's always, because we're human and we're inexperienced, where you're always to expand. So my gift is always expanding and always getting better. But in the beginning days, it's probably the weakest. But through all of this, I've really honed it now to where it's really, really strong. But this is how it began. So when I say I'm a medical intuitive, this is like how my gift opened. It opened, you know, really a few months after my near-death experience in 2005. But there were many years, a few years after that, probably like a 5-year span, where between 2005 and 2010, where I really began to be aware of, oh, this is really what this is, and this is how this really looks, and this is what it's called. So I hope this is giving you a little bit of insight. I wanted to share the story of how I became a medical intuitive and what that means and how that looks for me today. Um, but yeah, my work is to one, to re-instill in you and re-ground in you the belief in the possibility of healing. No matter what you're facing, the possibility does exist. And when I work with people privately, or if they're coming into my workshops or my courses, my work is to teach you how to take that possibility and move it into a probability by really becoming aware of, where you're not really connected to your spirit, where you're not really connected to your soul, you're not embodying it, you're not in harmony with it, and what you need to do and how you can do it to get yourself back in harmony so that you are embodying the frequency of your soul, which is well-being, which is love. And that frequency is the frequency that when you hold it and embody it long enough, it manifests health and healing for you. So thank you for listening. I hope this has helped you. I'll be sharing many more videos coming soon on many other things. But this has been today's story. Much, much love. Bye.